Yo, it's Jazzy Jazz with Lee Bailey's EURweb.com Spotlight and iHeartRadio. I'm chopping it up with the legend, UGK's Bun B. Yo, my man got stories. We get into his journey with Pimp C, Drake on the come up, being strapped and protecting his wife, and a whole lot more. It's a good combo. Come check it out. And don't forget to subscribe. Yo, it's Jazzy Jazz with Lee Bailey's EURweb.com Spotlight and iHeartRadio. Fam, I am so excited because I've been trying to get this brother in the chair for a hot black woman's minute. I'm talking king of the chicken movers from the land of the trill, home of the hard, the trill OG, lyrical bar lord, legend, Bun B, UGK. Oh, wait, and did I mention that he makes the best burger in America, according to GM?
Right.
You are killing the game. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm happy to be here. Happy to be here.
Well, I'm honored. I'm honored. And you know, you have been defining the rap game since the 90s, but you're timeless. And you are now dropping new music, Trill Static too. Talk to me about it. What's up?
Well, my friend and I at Static Selector, we have a real good bond. We have a real good um, rapport when it comes to making music with each other. He's probably in the top three producers I've done music with in my career over 30 years. And so we came up with an idea about 3 years ago to record an album together, but to actually do it in real time and allow people to watch the process. And so we did that 3 years ago called Trill Static. We live streamed it on YouTube. And so people were able to watch live as the tracks were laid, as I wrote the songs and laid the vocals, as guests come in and lay their vocals, and people were able to be a part of the entire process. And we had wanted to do it again, but COVID didn't allow to have that many people and close around it or whatever. But now was the perfect time, and everybody that we wanted to be a part of the project was available. That's another thing, really scheduling conflicts, trying to get all these different artists in one place at one time. But we found a little sweet spot to make it happen. We went for it, and we blocked out 12 hours and actually did everything in about 10 hours and 45 minutes.
Yo, it was lit too and packed. It was packed and stacked. When you walked in, you got a contact high. And what was so dope that there was youngins and OGs, and I think that's something that you really do is that it's multi-generational, the way that you roll. Even some of the folks who are featured on the project, right? Because you got Paul Wall, and then you got a youngin like Dave East, who I love, right? Talk to
Yeah,
me
so
about
we
that.
look, it's very easy for me to get the OGs together for us to do what we've been doing. But there's also a lot of really great new talent that's following our footsteps very well, that represent the culture and themselves very well. And, for me as an artist, I just like to make sure that I still got what it takes to keep up with the youngsters. You know what I'm saying? So we welcome participation from everybody. But no, having an artist like a Dave East in there, guys like Nims and Janelle, who's an amazing R&B artist that's a part of this project. He literally left from singing the national anthem at halftime. I mean, I'm sorry, at the beginning of the Nets game, and straight to us
Oh,
to record with me and Dave East. So it's a blessing to be able to take new up and coming talent, give them an opportunity and a platform, especially when they're doing it right. That's really what it's about. Supporting
that
people
part.
that are doing the right thing. Look, I don't have a record label. I don't have a media platform, but I do have these albums. And when I find somebody that's talented, like on the song "In My Hand," it's myself, Big Crit, and an artist named Cal Wayne from Houston. Cal Wayne actually grew up with George Floyd. They're both from Third Ward, and
Wow.
and
Ooh.
he's just a young brother that is an amazing talent. And I just wanted to get him out of Houston, bring him up to New York, see where the culture started, work with some up and coming artists, meet some new people, and get reinvigorated and inspired by the moment. And so it's a blessing to be able to do that for people because I know people did it for me.
Yeah. And you know what? By the way, folks, you got to check it out because the flow is dope. It's got a little R&B in there, which is not new for you. I mean, I remember back in the day you sampled Uncle Charlie Wilson and the Isley Brothers. So you've always had some affinity for R&B, and we see this on the album too, right?
Yeah, and that's beautiful because I went from sampling their music to actually working with them. I remember my first project, we sampled the Isley Brothers for our song Tell Me Something Good. We sampled Summer Breeze, and we were actually able to record with Ronald Isley on the album that we recorded, Underground Kings, when Pimp came home. And, to have, relationship with Charlie Wilson. We actually worked with Charlie Wilson on two records on that same project. He and Pimp got to build an amazing relationship.
Mm.
Got to know him very well. He was a great mentor to Pimp in his last years. And, it's just a blessing for life to come full circle for us to go from sampling people to actually working with people, to looking up to
Well,
them,
and then
to
you
actually
actually put
working
them
with them.
right, and then you actually put them onto some coin back then that was badly
Yes.
needed, especially for Ronald Isley at the time, right?
That was specifically the purpose of putting Ronald Isley on the album because we had a very big budget and we could spend money on whatever we wanted to, and that was literally the first check that we cut was for Ronald Isley to get him on the album, just to give back to him for literally being on letting us sample his first record and giving us a career. We felt it was only right.
Now you have kind of as part of your legacy, quote and woo, you speak truth to the young black youth. Yes, dubs up for woo, but you're putting young artists on game, right? And
Yes.
talk to me about why that's so important to you.
Well, I was a young artist. I started. This is my 30th year anniversary. I'm 49 years old. So,
What?
so I was a youngin when I started doing this. And there were a lot of people that mentored me, people that spoke their truth to me, opened doors for me, made opportunities for me. And I feel like at the very least, I have to leave this industry better than I found it. I have to afford opportunities for other people the way that they were afforded for me. And so I don't have that many, but when I do have them, I try to make sure and save a space for the next generation.
Yeah, I love that you giving back like that. I mean, that is what's up. That's we got to pay it forward, right? Now
Yes,
you
absolutely.
speaking of young artists, you recognize Drake's talent back in the day. I think he was doing a college tour. You got to tell us the Drake story.
Yeah, so Drake was found by Jazz Prince, who is a son of James Prince, the founder of Rap A Lot Records. I've known Jazz since a teenager from a very young age, and to see him moving into the industry was an amazing thing. And I remember he kept calling me saying, "Unc, I got this artist. I got to get you on the album. I got to get you on the album." But I was recording my album at the same time, and he hit me like 4 days in a row. And on that fourth day, he was like, "Unc, I got to get it. It's now or never." And we were actually leaving the studio when he called. And I was like, yo, Jazz never asked me for anything. His father gave me a lot of opportunities. It's only right. So I walked back in, I laid the verse. I ended up on So Far Gone on the song Uptown with Lil Wayne. And I mean, the rest for our relationship as well as his career is history. I'm just blessed to not be stupid and selfish that day and support that young brother, and look where he is now. And it's
Look
amazing to be
where
able
he
to call
is now. So when
and to be
was it
able to
that you
call on him. It's a
recognized?
blessing.
Yeah, when was it that you recognized that Drake was going to just blow up,
I mean,
particularly
when
with
the project
females?
dropped, right? So like I had only heard what I recorded, right? So when the project dropped, and I saw Trey Songz and Lloyd and all these different people on this project, and he's rapping and singing because Uptown, he's kind of singing on the hook, but there's like full songs of singing. And I was like, damn, this kid does a lot. And then when he actually came to Houston and did the show, like I've been watching him. He did the New York show first, then he did the Atlanta show first. Then he came to Houston. I was like, yo, this is a big deal. And we went to the show, and he had all the women in there mesmerized, and the guys were like, who is this little light skinned dude that's rapping and singing to these women? And I was like, I don't know, but I don't think he's going nowhere no time soon. No, I'm driving. It was funny.
That's hilarious. So the females were really feeling him off the rip. They knew Drake who Drake was, right? Now another young rapper that you touched was Lil Wayne.
Yes, yes. I was actually there in the earliest days of Cash Money Records when they brought Lil Wayne. Keep in mind, Lil Wayne was only 14, 15 years old when he first got involved with them, and he wasn't even allowed to curse on record. But he had such a command of the English language. I was like, if this dude can rap this good right now, whenever he learns how to curse. It's going when they let him curse, he's gonna be a problem.
Yeah, I mean, Lil Wayne is so lyrical. I mean, he is his
Can you give me
lyrics
one
are
second? Can you give me
genius.
1 second? I'm sorry.
Of
Give me one
course.
second. Sorry about that.
Oh, no worries. It
Apologize.
happens. I appreciate your time. So
Oh no,
let's
you're
talk a
fine.
little bit about Bun B. You was a country church boy, right? From Port Arthur, Texas. What was
Yes.
your life like before we knew you?
It was a very modest life. You know, I did not come from a family of privilege. I was not born with a silver spoon in my mouth. Pretty much everybody on my mother's side of the family and my father's side of the family were working class people. They were laborers, and you know, but they worked very hard to make sure that their kids could have a better opportunity. So all my family really comes from Louisiana, but my parents moved to Houston when they first got married to make sure that their children would have a better opportunity in a big city like Houston as opposed to a small country town in Louisiana. But I still ended up my finding my way into a small country town in Texas. So, but I mean, you know, these small towns give you a very warm sense of community. You know what I'm saying? Everybody knows everybody, so you never really feel alone. You can always go somewhere and get a warm
Mm.
get a cooked meal from people. You know, but there's also people watching you, making sure you ain't supposed to be doing nothing that you shouldn't be doing because they will call your mama and tell you. Like I come from a town where people don't mind getting in people's business. Typically in the big, typically in the big city, people keep to themselves. But out in Port Arthur, everybody watching, and they ready to tell somebody something.
And that is so much the South, right? And you are you have been
Absolutely.
repping the South, particularly in your later music when you went all Southern hip hop and really helped define Southern hip hop. So were you like the boy that got in trouble, or were you kind of the good kid? Like who were you?
Well, no, I was technically a good kid. You know, my older brothers got into a lot of trouble, so I tried to stay out of trouble and be a good kid for my mom. But then when I found music, and keep in mind in like 1989 was not a time to be like I want to do music for a living. There was really no money in it. My mother did not understand it at all. Still, only understands it, you know, on the surface level. She doesn't really understand the culture that much, but she's supportive of me now that I'm successful. But when I first said I wanted to do it, she was not having that. You know, she
What
was
did
like,
she
"Well, you gonna
do?
do that?" Well, she told me on graduation, "You got to get out if you're gonna go be a man. You can't do it in my house. You got to go do it out there in the world. Be a man about it." So I
What
left
she put? Wait, she
graduation now.
put you out? She actually put you out?
Yeah, because I was supposed to go to college. I told her I didn't want to go to college. I wanted to do this music stuff. You know, I wanted to do what I wanted to do. She's like, well, you're gonna do that. I can't support that. You got to go out and be a man and do that, live that life on your own. She's
So
like, if you want to go to college,
were
she's
you
like, if you want to go to
shocked?
college, we're gonna give you a car. No, no, I knew that she wasn't gonna approve of it. Um, but I ended up moving in with my dad that night. So I moved out with my mom in Port Arthur. I moved back in with my parents, my father, because my parents were divorced. But then literally the very next morning, my dad woke up at 6 in the morning. I lives here for free. So
He
I had
said,
to get
what?
up and my dad said nobody lives here for free. So I had to get up and go to work. My dad had a landscaping company. So the day after I graduated, I was up 6 in the morning cutting grass, you know. But that's what I felt like that was the sacrifice I was willing to make to chase my dream.
Yeah, yeah, you were. Well, you seem to have a lot of confidence and individuality because most rappers, you got to have the drip and be icy. And I mean, I see you got your chain, you repping your gold chain, but you're not dripping with the Rolexes and all the diamonds and everything, which I mean, and Pimp C was all about that life, right?
Yeah. And that was the thing, right? I never had to really concentrate on that because my partner was already in that, right? I never had to worry about having the best car because he was always into cars. I didn't have to worry about having a bunch of jewelry, but I knew he was gonna have a bunch of jewelry. And I never really tried to model myself after what other people were doing. I'm not saying I didn't have jewelry because I did. I bought watches, I did all of that stuff, but at a certain point, you know, priorities change, responsibilities change, and I went from being a man to a husband to a father, and I'm a grandfather, and I can't justify that kind of expense. Yeah, so I can't in present day really justify that kind of excess of expense on myself. I have to think about every dollar I spend on that is money I potentially take away from my family. So I just have to think like that. I find different ways to splurge on different things in different ways, but I want my creating memories.
So we're gonna call you the Trill Pop Pop from now on, right?
They
so
call me
speak
Paw Paw.
so speaking of Pimp C, I mean, so much tragedy in his life. And to me, it really exemplifies a lot of the criminal injustice of black men. I mean, he literally did 8 years in prison for not making some meetings and doing community service and not paying a fine, right? I mean,
Right.
and maybe he should have done that, but 8 years? Come on, son. Like that is so unjust. What are your thoughts about the criminal injustice system, which hasn't really changed today?
Well, I mean, look, we've always been underrepresented when it comes to that. We all know that bail can be a trap for many people because people from the inner city simply cannot afford bail, so they end up staying locked up in jail longer than they need to. People lose their jobs, people lose their homes because they're not there to go to work and pay their bills. Sometimes people lose their families. You know what I'm saying? So there's a lot of change that we need to see within the criminal justice systems on all sides, when it comes to theirs, but then also when it comes to victim crimes. We see a lot of leniency nowadays on victim crimes. So people get strong arm robbed and stuff like that. Folks that commit those crimes can get out real easy, you know. And when there's proof in it that we know that this person did it, we shouldn't be letting these people out just because you feel like your jail is too full. You know what I'm saying? Your jail is too full because you got the wrong people in the jail. That's the problem. You know what I'm saying?
Word, no word. And when Pimp C passed, allegedly from sipping on some scissor and sleep apnea, rest in power, rest in peace, Pimp C. Um, how did that affect you? I mean, that had to be very painful. And I know that y'all at the time you weren't beefing, but you weren't as close and tight as you normally were, even though he was still your brother. And he's your boy, but he's your brother.
Well, that's a big misconception. People think that we weren't getting along necessarily at that time, but we had already rectified everything a few days before he passed away. So I don't have any ill feelings, and I don't have any. Which I said everything I needed to say to him, and he said everything he needed to say to me. And the last thing I told him was the last thing he told me, which was "I love you." So I
Oh,
don't.
that's beautiful.
So I don't. I mourn his death, his passing, not just for myself, but for his family and friends. But there was no stone left unturned between himself and myself. I don't walk around, wishing I had said things or wishing I had done things. I just don't live like that. I don't see the need to hold on to that kind of stuff. And we had a talk, we had a very deep talk. And we got back to where we needed to. We just didn't have the opportunity to get back on the right track together, unfortunately, because he passed within 3 days of us having that conversation.
Mm.
I would like to say to everybody out there, like, don't hold that grudge. Don't, be the bigger person because you never know what can happen. So be the bigger person. Call whoever it is that you love that you just don't like right now, and just say, hey man, look, I know we got our differences, but I don't want anything to be left unsaid between us. And sometimes you have beef that's so old with family and friends, you even forgot what it started with.
Right? That is so true. You'd be like, wait, what were we beefing over?
And
But what a
it could
blessing.
be over. It could be over a person that neither one of y'all mess with no more.
Right. Exactly. But what a blessing that you were able to have that conversation. And, Pimp C, Chad lives on forever with the tremendous contribution
Absolutely.
he's made to hip hop, to music, to the world. We love you, Pimp C. So, you also rode with Big Meech and BMF season two about ready to drop January 6th. And I
Yes.
had an opportunity to chop it up with Lil Meech, which was really dope. He's really repping his father hard. And you were part of that free BMF movement, free Big Meech movement. Talk to me about Big Meech and kind of your experience with him.
And the one thing I can say about Meech was that he was a real unifier of men. In a world where most men didn't trust each other, most men felt like everybody was out to get him. He built a brotherhood amongst men from different cities and different places. Instead of everybody trying to go after each other to get the money, he was trying to make sure that we all got the money together and keep the game together. And so strength in numbers, and that's why I call him the great unifier
It's,
because
wait, it's a little
he,
hard to hear you. Say it again.
I'm sorry, because I always say that he's a great unit because he brought so many people together from so many different places that normally would not would have enemies, and he convinced a lot of these people that they should work together, minimize the violence, and maximize the profit. You know what I'm saying? And
Right,
those are things that we really don't talk about. You know, organized crime and whatever we call criminality has always existed in this world. But as long as these things occurred with minimal amounts of violence, the police and the government allows these things to happen. You know what I'm saying? It's only when the violence becomes attributed to what people are doing in those areas where they tend to mess everything up and things tend to fall apart. I say all that to say that Mish was a great man. I can't wait to see him again. I know he's in good spirits in spite of what people think. And the true story of Big Meech and the BMF family and what the true intentions of this family are now able to be told, not just through recreated TV shows, but there's actually the documentary out where the
that's
real people
right.
can say it and you can hear it from the horse's mouth, you know,
That's
because
right.
everybody swear they was outside with Meech, but the truth is gonna be told, you know. Everybody tried to cling on to the BMF legacy, but if you know, don't try to act like you was there now, you know, when everything is all safe and good.
Right. Well, and he really, I think, would have made a mark on the music game had he been
Oh
able
no,
to.
no, he had big ideas on the music industry and really changing the power dynamic in terms of the money. Like his ideas were to basically like the record companies always took all the money and gave the label little. He wanted to give the record artists a lot and keep little for the record company. He really wanted to change the dynamic. He had a lot of big plans and that he wanted to achieve, and he just didn't have time to accomplish it.
He didn't have time. And that would have been so revolutionary because so many artists talk about it's
Go
like
ahead.
slavery when you're with the record companies, it's like slavery. You just don't get the coin for what you produce, right?
Well, when
So
you don't have any leverage in the situation, it's only so hard you can negotiate. That's the reality.
yeah, yeah. I mean, that happened to you with your first contract, right?
Absolutely. I mean, I was signed to a record company for over 15 years, and I spent probably 12 of those years in litigation, adding amendments and trying to fight different clauses of the
Mm,
contract. You know,
mm,
up until the last album, we were constantly in
mm.
negotiation.
Well,
Take
speaking
two
about
steps
you,
forward, they knock you one back. So.
mm, I feel you. Well, speaking about your music, so you really helped define Southern hip hop, Southern rap, along with 3 6 and Jeezy and so on. And it was an interesting difference from Pocket Full of Stones, right, to Murder. Was Murder kind of a turning point for you? Like the beat was hard, that wasn't as slow as your previous music that you put out there. Was that a turning point for you?
Well, the thing was that typically all of the UGK music was up a slower tempo, right? And so I was always telling Pimp, but Pimp was one of my main like backers. Pimp was always like, "Y'all can't out rap Bun B, y'all can't mess with Bun B." And I'm like, "Well, you keep telling people how good I can rap, but I can't really show them how I can rap on this beat. It's too slow." And so Murder was like one of those beats where like, okay, we're gonna do this one specifically to show that we can rap in the South, you
Oh,
know.
and
And
you
so
and you did that. You did
yeah,
that for real.
I put everything I had into it.
Murder is hard, yo. It is hard. And we hear some of that in the new album as well. Well, I know you gotta go. I got three last questions for you and appreciate you spending this time with me. You've been married to your beautiful wifey, and she is a sister, a beautiful black queen, dubs up for black love since 2003. What is the secret? How did you meet her, and what's the secret?
I met her at a get together we had. We had just finished the master version of Ride Dirty, and I wanted people to hear it. And so a friend of mine, Eddie, who's no longer with us, had to get together at his apartment, and we went there, and she was there with some other friends, and I was like, this is who I want to be with. This is what I'm
You
talking about
wait,
right
you knew
here.
off the rip that this was going to be your wife. You knew off the rip.
I knew she was gonna be my woman. I couldn't see as far as getting married, but I knew she was gonna be my woman. That's for sure.
So now, what is the secret to your longevity? I mean, you're now, the trill pawpaw. So you guys have gone from being parents to being grandparents. You've been together for, several decades. That's hard to do in the entertainment industry. How have you kept it together? What's the secret? We want
You
to
just
learn
got to
from
be
you.
transparent. You just got to be transparent with people. You know what I'm saying? You just have to be honest with people. And look, there are things there are things that are going to happen in a relationship, and you're not going to always get along, and to it's going to hurt to tell people certain things sometimes, or even to admit when you're wrong about certain things. But as long as there are internal conversations, people can get past stuff. It's only when other people gets involved with family business where things become hard to fix.
Facts, facts, whole facts. Now, how do y'all keep it spicy?
Oh wow, she wouldn't want me to discuss that, but uh, let me
Oh.
just let me say this. Let me definitely say this. I I'm still very attracted to my wife. I love looking at my wife. I love touching my wife. Maybe sometimes more than she may like it, but look, I still look at her. She still looks as beautiful to me as she always did, and I just don't
Oh.
and 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 I don't see no better options for me. You know what I got is good. Me and my wife have literally been through everything a couple could go through, and we're still together. And I don't mean in terms of like infidelity and stuff like that. I'm talking about like having somebody come in your house and wanting to kill you, that kind of
I
stuff. You know what I'm
know.
saying?
I mean, I
And
was wondering if that has actually changed how you live. But it reminds me of that line that you said, "When Big Bun come, danger, ring your alarm," because that brother pulled a gun on your wife, tried to jack your car. I mean, and you shot him. Like you were like, I don't play. So tell me what happened and how that's affected your life now and how you live.
I mean, look, without getting too deep into it, right? Somebody actually tried to come in our house and take something and put his gun to my wife's head. And I did what I told God and everybody that stood in that church that day, what I would do if somebody bothered my family. Now, in the grand scheme of things, I hate that I had to shoot another black man. But when you come in my house, I don't see race, color, or none of that stuff.
Hello.
That's what I'm saying. So if you'd have been blue, you'd have been a shot blue motherfucker. Excuse my language.
That's what's up.
But the reality is that my wife literally the whole thing is in the midst of everything. My wife tried to stall this guy out until I could get to the gun, and was willing to put her life on the line because she knew
Wow.
that I would, if she died, I would avenge her. And that's a lot for somebody to have to think about in the moment. You know what I'm saying? And once you go through things like that, you realize if there is such a thing as a soulmate, you got them.
Mm. So y'all were like moving together. You were in sync as a team in the moment, in a crisis like that. That's beautiful. That's what's up. Well, I congratulate you on your marriage. That is amazing. Well, the last question that I have is, you still there? The last question I
Yes,
have
I'm
is
here.
now you pimping the food game and winning at that. Trill
Yeah,
Burger.
that is a blessing, man, to have that opportunity brought to me because I've had a food blog for over 10 years called You Gotta Eat This. And I've been looking for an opportunity to get into the food industry. And when a good friend of mine, Andy Wynn, reached out to me with this opportunity, I tried the burger. I was excited about it. I put everything on it.
Oh, I'm losing you
30 years.
now. I'm losing your
I'm sorry.
sound.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So everything I learned about the music industry and the music business as a business model, I took that to heart, and I brought the burger out there. I put the burger basically on tour the same way I would with a new album, and we ended up competing for best burger in America, and we won. And ever since then, we just been trying to stay focused on getting this burger out as consistently tasteful as possible, and trying to figure out the best way to expand this brand to make sure as many people as possible can get their hands on the Trill Burger before it's all said and done.
That's what's up. And now Trill has been your theme since you popped up on the scene on the game. Why Trill? You want people to know you're not fake, but why Trill?
It's just, I built 30 years of blood, sweat, and tear equity into the brand. And it's something that people understand. Even if they don't know me personally, they know the word, they know the brand, and they know the definition. And it's one of the words that you literally cannot disassociate from me at this point. So I just feel like why go against the grain? You know, and it says a lot without saying much at all.
Yeah, Trill knows Trill. Trill recognizes Trill. You are
Real
a real
recognize
one.
true.
Trill recognizes Trill. Well, thank you, Bun B, so much. I'm really honored. It has been such a pleasure to chop it up with you. And
Thank
y'all make
you.
sure you check out Trill Static too. You can stream it from every platform, right?
Yes, everywhere. Yes, everywhere.
And make
Spotify,
sure you eating that
Apple
burger while you
Music.
listening, right?
That's right.
Well, thank you so much for stopping by Spotlight. Love you.
Thank y'all for having me. Anytime you want my spotlight, I'm here. Just hit me up. You
Okay.
know how to find me.
I appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Thank
Bye.
you. Have a blessed day and happy holidays.
Happy holidays. Now, fam, don't forget to subscribe so I can keep bringing you these conversations. Let's go, let's go.